Green government. Has there been a climate change in German policy? In the interview, Green Party parliamentary leader Jürgen Trittin.
Mr. Trittin, Germany is quitting nuclear power. An epoch-making decision?
It's the historic beginning of a new era, which actually began in 2001. Chancellor Merkel is reverting to legislation on a nuclear phase-out passed by the SPD Green government. That coalition also passed a law on expanding renewable energy. The legislative decisions of 2011 were made possible by those of 2001.
But now it's a consensus decision. Doesn't that mean society wants this move?
Society has wanted it for years. What's new is that the conservative CDU and its partner the FDP have stopped defying society's demands.
You were recently in Japan presenting Germany's nuclear exit strategy. Do people there think Japan should follow suit?
When it comes to changing the course of energy policy, Japan has yet to find a direction. Contrary to the main political parties, most voters don't believe there will be any construction of major new nuclear power plants. Most also don't believe plants currently out of service will go back online. When considering how to deal with the ensuing power supply gap, it makes sense to look to Germany, a highly industrialized country, which in many ways is similar to Japan. There's a lot of interest there in the way Germany is proceeding. Naturally, Japan has to go its own way. A key difference between Japan and most European countries is that Japan is an island and isn't integrated into a power grid. It doesn't even have a single power grid, it has two with two different frequencies. So there are many differences to Germany.
Ending nuclear power will change Germany. Will Germany still be the industrial nation it is today in 11 years' time?
Yes, you need to acknowledge that in the space of a decade, we've established a powerful new industry. Today, 370,000 people work in the renewable energy sector. If you go to a state like Saxony-Anhalt, you'll find the biggest industrial employer is wind turbine producer Enercon in Magdeburg. The second biggest is solar cell manufacturer Q-Cells. We have revitalized a sector of the German economy, and this industry is particularly strong in the export sector. Today, exports account for 70% of the industry's turnover.
Germany's Green Party was founded more than 30 years ago, and from the start it strongly opposed nuclear power. Does the party feel vindicated?
I think it's precisely this key founding principle that resonates with society today. But it's not the only area where we've made our mark. For example, 30 years ago, you would have been laughed at for saying it should be a matter of course for the partners of gays or lesbians to be invited to a state function hosted by the German president. Today, that is a reality and normal, even when the host is from the conservative Christian Democrats. The Greens today have a big majority of the population behind them on issues we used to fight for and were belittled for.
Have you changed society for the better?
I think we have successfully changed society and will continue to do so.
You've also changed people's mentality about things like organic products, environmental protection, and of course sustainability. Has all this now become mainstream?
People's ideas of development have changed dramatically from the very simplistic views held in the 1960s. People have become reflective through such events as environmental disasters that hit the Rhine River or food scandals. They've realized that a change in course doesn't just result in a different lifestyle, but also, for many people, a better lifestyle. Acting fast on this realization and implementing change can create a new social consensus.
So is your party aiming to create a green Germany?
We want Germany to have a future in which life is worth living. We continue to emphasize a slogan dating from our founding years, which reads, "We have only borrowed this earth from our children." Translating this fundamental belief into practical action remains the leitmotif of our work.
Do the Greens, with all their policies and paradigms, represent society's new middle class?
If I look at Germany's political landscape, all I see are middle-class parties. That includes the Left Party. Its founding chairman doesn't live in a small apartment in a housing project on the outskirts of the city. The issue we are at loggerheads over in Germany is this. The challenges we face today can be answered in ways that are ecological or not ecological. They can be answered in a democratic or authoritarian way. There are answers to these challenges on the left and on the right. Political groups rally around the one or the other. What we have achieved is the establishment of a fourth pillar alongside conservatism, liberalism, and social democracy. And that is ecology.
You've taken the traditional route to establish yourselves. Baden-Württemberg has become the first state to be led by a Green Party premier. Has that changed the party?
Naturally, it changes the party. We need to deal responsibly with the 4-year mandate we've been given. At the same time, it's our goal to have that mandate prolonged. And we need to focus on leadership. We can no longer sit back and say, the lion's share of responsibility rests with others. I believe we're well equipped to meet this new challenge.
Does that mean the party is striking a balance between its origins in the protest movement and the need to assume responsibility?
It's interesting that we were voted into office in Baden-Württemberg on the back of a mass protest movement against a controversial plan approved by the state government. This led to the formation of a new government that says, we want voters to be more involved in the decisions that affect them. That is the approach we're taking in Baden-Württemberg.
Here in Berlin, Parliament is in summer recess. Is the government as good as finished?
Politically, this government has so far backtracked on everything it set out to do. Except give tax breaks to hotels and businesses, no government has had a comparable track record in the middle of the legislative period. There has never been such a bad government since democracy was established in Germany. And it's precisely because it is so bad that it is so stable. Imagine we were having fresh elections today. 2 out of 3 FDP lawmakers would probably lose their seats. Presumably, they're not inclined to see an early end to this legislative period.
With such stable approval ratings, you must be preparing to enter government in 2013. Will we see the first Green-led national coalition?
I don't put my faith in polls, even positive ones. This government's biggest problem isn't the FDP. It is a big problem, but it will get smaller. The biggest problem for this government is the Chancellor herself, who to date has failed to give both her party and this country anything remotely like direction, which is why we are fighting for the complete disposal of her CDU-FDP coalition in 2013.
Leaving nothing to recycle. Many thanks for your time, Mr. Trittin.